What's up guys, Squirtle here and welcome to another tech video. This one is actually going to be covering what happened or didn't actually kind of happen at today's Apple event. So let's get started. So there was like a ton of speculation for the past few weeks after Apple announced that they were going to be doing an event today, saying that it was going to be the refresh of the iPhone SE or a brand new Apple Pencil or some big software tweaks or stuff like that. And there was a point for me where I actually was talking with somebody at work and I felt like that wasn't really going to be the case, solely based on the fact that it didn't seem like there was much that they could talk about. Maybe an SE update, but I didn't really think so because that would kind of interfere with the way that they do a lot of their stuff with the phones. People were saying there might be a new color coming out for the iPhone 10, and I doubt that because there's rumors of the iPhone 10 not being around down the road, and that they were just going to move the design of it to a different series. So I didn't think that that was really going to happen, and so I pretty much figured there was going to be an iPad refresh or something along those lines. I was kind of hoping that they were going to be doing an Apple Pencil update just because we've had the same Apple Pencil for a while, and we kind of got that, but not really. We just got a cheaper option for it. So before we get into all that, the big focus of this keynote was education, education, education. That was the entire keynote, was getting iPads into classrooms, showing how iOS will benefit students with education, coding for everybody, creation for everybody. They updated Word, or not Word, they updated Pages, Keynote, and Numbers for iPads so that teachers can actually annotate things. They can circle things that were incorrect and write corrections with them with the Apple Pencil. And it was really cool, actually. One of the things that I thought was amazing was, like, when I do markups, I can trace things or I can draw things and they stand alone. But what this actually does is when the teacher needs to type something more, or if a student types something more on an annotated document, that annotation actually sticks over the word. So as they were typing, you could actually see the annotation moving along with the text as it was being pushed along as the person typed. One of the other things they added, and this is all stuff that I'm talking about before we even get to the new hardware, this is just software stuff that they talked about. They were talking about how AR is going to be big in the classroom, so with AR and stuff you can look at a frog on a table, and with the Apple Pencil you can dissect a frog. I don't know, I went to a Christian school, we cut open pigs. Don't know if those two have anything to do with one another. I guess it would have been different if it was a Jewish school. Anyway, I digress. So apart from that, one of the other really cool things that they implemented that I feel like will have bigger implications in iOS 12, but is really cool to see right now, is multiple users, or kind of multiple students. It seems like it's only something that you can use as a student with like a student account, or something that teachers can set up with the iPads for their students in the classroom. And the idea is that a student can take the iPad out of the cart that they keep the iPads in and click on their name, and it will actually show their app layout, their notes, their documents, and all that stuff right there. And then when they're done, they just log out, put the iPad back, and then if another student grabs that iPad instead of the other student, they get it and click their name, and again, there you go, it's all yours instead of the other students. And I feel like this is cool because it's something we've been asking for in iOS, especially on iPads, for a really long time, and they're finally implementing it. It's kind of interesting that it made it into a student edition iPad first before it made it to other iPads, because I feel like implementing it in something like this iPad that we're going to talk about in a minute is cool. But we've got iPads with 128 gigabytes, which this one can get, 256 for the iPad Pro, and a freaking half terabyte, 512 gigabytes on the iPad Pro. And you're telling me that you can't spare that space to add another account yet? I don't really see why you wouldn't, but it's cool that they've at least taken that first step to add multi-user options, and I'm hoping to see it down the road with other iPads, because let's be honest, when I move to be with my girlfriend, she's going to want to use my iPad for drawing, and I'm not going to want all these notes and drawing crap all over my iPad, so I would make her her own account for drawing and stuff like that. Alright, so let's talk about the hardware that they announced today, because that's really what most people care about, even though I feel like there's a lot of really cool implications with what is possible with the software. Everybody, when it comes to Apple, cares about the hardware, and the software is cool, but of course it's not as customizable as Android, or Windows is winning, or whatever. Here's the hardware. So they refreshed the iPad, the 9.7-inch iPad, which is funny because if I remember correctly, I think that's the newest of the lineup for their iPads. I think the 10.5 came out before it, and I think the 12.9 definitely came out before it, and the Mini hasn't seen love in like 2 years. But let's refresh the regular iPad, and that's exactly what they did. So it's pretty much your standard fare of colors. Still get space gray, still get gold, still get silver. Same storage options. You've got a 32 gigabyte option and a 120 gigabyte option. You have a cellular model as well as just the standard Wi-Fi. Still the 9.7-inch screen. It's got a better Wi-Fi system in it from what I could tell. Same Touch ID sensor, if I remember correctly. I think that's the same. Same stereo speaker, same headphones, same form factor. Pretty much everything's the same, but they beefed up the processor, so it's an A10 chip now. They've also implemented the Apple Pencil. That was the big thing that everybody was hoping they would do. They did pull it off. They got the Apple Pencil, which is the best stylus you can get for a tablet right now. Screw your S Pen. This is the best stylus you can get for drawing, for fine control, for precision pointing, especially when I do video editing on my iPad Pro. This is the tool that I have to use because, let's be honest, if this is the best I can get instead of a cursor, I'll take this any day over using my finger. So it's really cool. You can get the Apple Pencil now, and they did kind of do a cheaper Apple Pencil. Logitech makes a thing called the Crayon, which I feel like is focused primarily at students because it's a smaller, more affordable approach to the Apple Pencil because mommy and daddy don't want little Timmy to be throwing their $100 pencil around and getting it all beat up and broken just so that little Timmy can draw on their $330 iPad. My only problem with them allowing the Apple Pencil to work with the regular iPad is that they've kind of shot themselves in the foot when it comes to their Pro lineup. I mean, don't get me wrong, the 120 Hz refresh rate is still going to be so much better in terms of response time when you're drawing on the iPad Pro versus 60 Hz on the iPad. But the main reason people would buy the iPad Pro is because it was the only series that worked with the Apple Pencil. But now they've kind of narrowed the market for the iPad Pro to a very specific group of people who either want a larger display, a better refresh rate, or they're trying to fully replace their laptop with things that really most other iPads, even the new one, can't do, that only the Pros can do. And I just got my standing goal while sitting here talking to you. Either way, I think that the whole cheaper iPad with Apple Pencil support is cool. I think, again, they've shot themselves in the foot when it comes to the Pro, but time will tell with that. I feel like with the software they've implemented now, with the multiple users, that's going to work its way into more features later down the road with things like iOS 12, maybe 13, with multiple users available on the iPad. I mean, last year, iOS 11 was the biggest change to the iPad software that we had ever seen. So that was actually really cool, and I feel like this is going to open the door for a lot more stuff with iOS 12. And of course, you can't forget, a cheaper Apple Pencil is always good, even if it is called the Crayon and it's made by Logitech. If it works as good as the Apple Pencil, I'm not going to complain. Heck, I might even buy one and give it a shot. And they also talked about a Logitech bumper case for 99 bucks that gives you a Bluetooth keyboard and a big bumper case because kids are going to throw this iPad around. That's why it's only $329, or $299 if you're a student or a school, which is actually really cool. I think the last time Apple focused this hard on education for an iPad at least was when they were doing the iPad 2, the original iPad, before they actually put the Retina display on it and everything. They were still selling like the 3s and 4s, but the 2 is still out there as kind of the wild card for super cheap, so colleges could literally give it to their students as they enrolled. I remember one of my friends enrolled in Hood College out here in Frederick, and he actually got an iPad 2 just for enrolling. He still has that iPad 2 actually, and it still works. And I think the only thing bigger that they've done for the education market was way back when they would do the eMac. Those, if you don't know what the eMac is, those were the computers that were actually in my school. And they were actually pretty cool because at the time they had an iMac G4, review coming soon hopefully, and they were actually the G3 style, so they were less expensive to manufacture than the brand new G4s. Of course, they were also better than the original iMac, which we also had in the classroom when I was a student, but I would use the original iMacs because, I mean, look at that beautiful color. Anyway, and of course, the last time they did anything major in Chicago, they were releasing the Newton. So they've never done anything major in Chicago. Anyway, this was kind of just a rough summary of what I took away from this keynote, was basically education, 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 cheaper Apple Pencil, cheaper approach to an Apple Pencil with a $329 iPad, multiple users for the students, which hopefully will make its way into iOS 12 down the road, and that's pretty much it. So if you guys like this video, please make sure to comment. I'm going to make more of these. Like, subscribe, the whole 9 yards. If you're watching this on the Apple Orchard channel, thank you for coming over and watching this on the Apple Orchard channel. If you haven't and you're watching this on the Garrett Crespo channel, check the link down in the description. There's going to be a link to the Apple Orchard channel, which is where I hope to eventually move all my tech videos. But right now I'm using the Garrett Crespo reaction channel as kind of a stepping stone to get these videos available to you guys so that more people see them and know that they're available elsewhere, and that's where they're eventually all going to move. So thanks guys, and I will see you all in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one.